Tatiana, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I did receive your email and I loved the fact that you were willing to be so open about what you've been through, because it has been a really tough time for you. Yeah. But can you take us back to the day of the accident, what you remember? Because you're only 8 years old, right, at the time?
So it was the day after my birthday and I was at home. And then all I remember is like all my clothes had just been lit up in flames. And I remember in school as well, we used to see posters like, if you was on fire, roll on the floor. Mm-hmm. So I rolled on the carpet as like first instinct, and it didn't work. So I went to my bathroom, I got a bucket. It took, I think, 5 or 6 buckets of water, just chucking it on myself to like put the fire out. And you were at home by yourself at this point? I was at home by myself.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember, do you remember any pain or anything like that, or was it just too much in shock?
I think because there was so much adrenaline pumping through, I couldn't tell you if I was in pain or not. Mm-hmm. All I remember is I felt heat like on my body. It's like being in the sun for like a whole day. That's what it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened after that? Because obviously it was very frightening. When did you actually get help?
I think it was when my mum had come home. And then she realised straight away that something was wrong, and her first instinct was...
By that time the flames were out and everything? Okay.
And I had changed my clothes because my clothes started to feel weird on my skin. Mm-hmm. So my mum called the ambulance, we were in there, and I remember being in hospital and it felt like I was in Casualty or Holby City. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel real. And I remember they was checking my obs, doing all of this, and they had to cut off my clothes because it would have melted into my skin. And then they gave me something, put me to sleep, and then I remember waking up again in hospital.
Can you talk us through the rehab and what you actually went through with that?
With the rehabilitation, the surgeons always told me it would take a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Even now, I have to miss school because I'm having operations and skin grafts. And
it's like 7 years or so later.
Yeah, because my skin, as I'm growing, my skin's getting tighter. But with the mental side, I had to speak to like psychotherapists, and I felt I didn't really want to speak to them. It was a thing where I tend to close myself off because no one really understood what I was going through except me. I was depressed, I was sad. I used to wear a fake smile on my face because I didn't feel happy at all. I wasn't me. I felt like I was having an outer body experience. There was a time where I even contemplated suicide. I used to have suicidal thoughts because I was so depressed.
At age 8, you were thinking of killing yourself?
Yeah.
And how long were you in hospital for? Was this all going on while you were still in hospital?
Yeah, I was in hospital for 10 months. It took that long for me to learn how to walk again, being able to use the bathroom by myself again. And even when I finally grasped the ability to do that, I still had to be assisted, especially with my skin. I couldn't use normal soaps, or I'd get a rash or I'd get bumps, and then they'd have to come and check, and then I may have stayed in again. So it was really horrible.
And physically, how were you feeling? Because obviously you said at the time of the accident you couldn't really feel the pain. You just remember the heat because of the adrenaline. But talk us through maybe what you were feeling physically with all the operations you were having to undergo and all of that stuff.
I think physically I was just sore. That's the only word I could say. Literally every time I moved, even if it was to turn my head because I have burns on my neck, it would feel so painful. Or even to walk, even though they used to give me a walking frame to learn how to walk again, my legs would feel so painful because I had skin staples in my leg to hold my skin together, and I had it in some places on my arm as well. So it was just sore every time, even if it was little movements, I'd be like, ow, that really hurts. And they used to give me like a lot of medication to help as well.
Okay. And then, Tatiana, you went home obviously after the 10 months. Then when was it that you started to feel really like different from everyone else? Or was there anything, a particular incident that happened, or was it just everything?
I think it was when I was at home and some of my little cousins and family had come over, and there was one particular little cousin I was close to and that I used to play with a lot, and he came over and he was scared of me, and I felt so I was like, what? Like this person I was close to scared of me now, so is it my fault? I tend to blame myself because I was like, it's my fault, I'm like this. I don't know what to do.
Did he say anything, or he just wouldn't come near you?
No, he was so scared, he wouldn't even hug me. As to before, he used to hug me, smile, we used to play and everything, even before, like.
How did that make you feel?
I was very insecure. That made me very insecure, especially because they had shaven my head as well.
Okay.
And I think my hair at that time was something that was just really, I was really attached to. So the fact that I didn't have my hair and I had to grow my hair again, I was so insecure and depressed, and I didn't want to live. I just wanted it to all go away.
Talk us through, I mean, you've so much to go through already at just age 8. It's terrible what you've been through. But talk us through also now growing up into your teenage years. How were you coping with, maybe the way people were reacting to you or saying certain things? Talk us through that as well.
I think it got a bit worse when I was in high school, because it was like a different surrounding. No one knew me, no one knew my circumstances, and it wasn't until I think I was in year 8 or year 7, a girl had approached me, not spoken to the girl, nothing, and said, look at you, you have burns, you look disabled. And I remember right in that spot where I just broke down and cried, and all my friends from my form were hugging me, saying, Tat, it's okay, she doesn't understand, she shouldn't have said that though.
So up until that point, people were quite sort of accepting, and they weren't sort of saying anything bad to you.
Yeah.
So that was like the first time you'd experienced something like that.
And even then someone said that my neck looked like a dead person's face, and that just made me really more insecure, and I didn't know what to do about it. So for me, the only way to not think about it was to be like, yeah, I'm happy, even though I don't really feel happy. I could show on the outside that I'm happy, even though I feel sad and I feel broken. And I tried really hard to be the popular girl and try and fit in. So
how did you try that?
Like, for example, there was a brand when I was little that used to be really big. So in year, I think 7 or 8, that's the time, all the girls used to dress a particular way. So I would use that, like typical trainers, bag, jacket. I'd use that as a shield, so people would look more at my clothing and be like, oh, you're wearing the same thing as me, instead of looking at my scars.
Was that you though, would you say, or was that just a mask?
It was a mask. It definitely was a mask. It wasn't me.
And how did you feel about wearing a mask? Because on top of everything else that you were going through, and the pain of having to have all these procedures done, then also having to pretend, what was that like for you? The
thing is, I didn't feel any feeling towards it. It becomes so part of my routine that I was just like, oh, I have to be happy, don't cry, please don't cry, like be strong. If anyone says anything or gives you a look or does anything, just be strong and don't cry. That was my motto.
But inside?
Inside I was upset, I didn't know what to do, because my mum had gone away after my accident, because she tended to blame herself. I was a mummy's girl through and through, so not having my mum there as well made it worse. And
so she just left you?
She suffered from depression, and so she used to blame herself, and she used to tell me strange things about, I know it wasn't you who caused the accident. She would make up things to say who caused my accident when I knew it wasn't the case. And then she just kind of disappeared. And then when I was still in primary school, going on to high school, she used to send me birthday cards, letters, even to my little brother. But then I think when I approached 13, 14, it completely stopped.
So you've had no contact with her since then? And what about your dad?
My dad in the beginning was never really in my life.
Okay.
He used to come in a pattern, so every 5 years I would see him for a couple of weeks and then not see him again.
Okay.
And the thing is, I have an uncle who I'm really close to, and he was my dad, like that male figure. Okay. So I didn't really feel like I was missing out on anything. But it did hurt a bit not having my dad when I would go to school, and my mum and grandmother would be there, and I love them for that. But not having that male figure to be like daddy's little girl, you know.
And then obviously your mum going as well, it added on top of everything else. But you had, thank goodness you had that positive role model for your life, right?
Yep.
And Tatiana, there's so much to your story, and we were having a chat earlier because we just can't cover everything on today. But after the break, we're also going to bring on Audrey Tang, our resident psychologist, because I just think you're amazing to come on. Seriously, I think you're so brave. You're so young. You're so brave to come on and talk about this. I want to get her take on everything. I know it's a difficult thing for you to talk about, and you're doing great. And I know you're helping the viewers at home, because, you know, sometimes, you know, you could, like I said at the beginning, you can feel different for so many reasons. I know when I was depressed, I felt isolated and I felt different, and that was sort of just, you know, mentally. So, you know, so many things can affect a person, and we're going to be getting some advice from Audrey, and, you know, and you're also going to be telling everybody what you've achieved now, because you have managed to turn things around. Yeah. And you're happy today and you're confident about yourself, which is absolutely wonderful. So do join us after this break. So before the break, we spoke to the amazingly brave Tatiana, who's been telling us about her accident. She got burned, and also how all the things that she went through, and actually still is going through to some extent, especially the physical side. And now we're also joined by our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, to comment first of all on Tatiana's story, and also talk in general about when people feel different and what they go through mentally. So Audrey, thank you so much for coming on as well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So obviously you've heard what Tatiana's had to say so far. What do you think? There's so much that she's been through.
I have to say, Tatiana, you inspire me. There's a real warmth and an inner peace I get from you, which I don't usually see in anyone who's been through anything like this. You have an acceptance of everything, and that has allowed you to move forward, and I think that's incredibly difficult to find, especially in someone so young. And that's something where, well, it's different, but it's amazing, and that's truly incredible.
Thank you.
It's just an honour actually being on the sofa with you. Really.
It's so lovely, isn't it? Now, Tatiana, tell us how you turn things around, because you're not depressed anymore. You're very confident, I have to say, as well, even though you're a little bit nervous to come on TV today, but that's perfectly understandable because it's a new experience for you. But tell us, how did you get past everything?
I think it took a lot of acceptance, where instead of crying about the situation, crying about something that can't be changed, why not turn it into a positive? And also as well, from my grandmother, my cousins and my friends, always pushing me to come out my comfort zone, just to be confident, because they always remind me, I'm still Tatiana, there's just a small difference. I'm still the girl that used to make people laugh, tell crazy stories, so but to be honest, most of it goes down to my grandmother. She's been so amazing, taking me hospital. There were times where I was in hospital for 6 weeks once, and I had to spend my birthday there, and my grandmother would come straight from work there and look after me and bring me food, and she would be there till all 9, 10. And I'm like, Nan, you have work? And she's like, no, I'll stay here, I don't mind. I'll be like, Nan, you can go, it's fine.
Oh, that's lovely. Now, just another question, Tatiana, because you haven't stopped here, because you are now you started up something to help other people. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I first initially got the idea from my youth group. We were doing a purpose called 7 Weeks to Excel. So I didn't really want to waste these 7 weeks just doing nothing and let them fly by. And I remember the person that was leading the meeting was always like, think big, be bold, do something that you're going to enjoy. So I was thinking, what can I do? And I was like, okay. So I've gotten burnt, and there's even young people I know now that tend to struggle with completing everyday things. So what can I do? So I started an awareness project called the YPLB, which stands for Young People Living with Burns. And I just wanted the young burn survivors to have a voice, because there are a lot of adult ones. Like, for example, Katie Piper, who I've met personally and is really nice, but there was no one for, say, the 11 to 18 spectrum and what it was like, especially going through teens, what it's like, how you could feel insecure, how certain things can really get to you. So I wanted to be that voice.
That's amazing. So how is that going? I know it's in the initial stages at the moment, but what are your plans? What are you doing?
My plans, I actually want to start raising money to help the Burns camp that initially helped me in the beginning. Because that place, I'm so thankful for that place, because a lot of my confidence I wouldn't have if it wasn't for that place.
Tell us about the Burns camp.
Burns camp is a lovely charity run by two people called Dave and Karen, and it's a thing where every summer in August we come together, just people, young burn survivors from London, Essex, Bristol, and we just come together and have fun, and we do different activities as well.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very important.
That's really good. And now you've decided to do your own project, and who knows where that's going to take you. But I definitely see big things for her. She's just so brave, so young, so brave, and
absolutely. And actually, you're the perfect person to be the voice, be that spokesperson, because of your maturity and your understanding of it. And it's not, so I don't get from you somebody who is wearing a mask anymore or trying to cover something up.
No.
What you see is what you get, and it's wonderful.
Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show.